You're listening to Let's Stay Together Anime Break, the sub-series of Let's Stay Together where we talk about the 2019 anime Fruits Basket. I'm Ellen.
And I'm Kayla.
Today we're discussing episode 23, which was called You Look Well. You Look Well.
You look well.
Recycle the jokes. We're going to do the summary of the episode, a spoiler-free and then spoiler discussion as we always do. So, this episode covered chapters 30 and 31 of the manga, which we covered in separate episodes, interestingly. So the first one was episode 15, and the second one was part of what was covered in episodes 16 and 17. If you're not listening to spoilers, don't listen to episode 16 and 17. But 15 was called My Weaknesses, 16 and 17 was called This Time Will Be Different. So you can listen to My Weaknesses. That also had that was the one that had the where they go visit Hana's house or whatever. Yeah. So we've already talked about that too. So you can go and listen to your heart's content to episode 15 of our podcast. This content in this episode was in the original anime that came out in around 2001. I have one side note to say about that later, but anyway, this episode opens with, let's get right into it. This episode opens with great teacher Mayuko announcing that the kids' midterm scores are posted and anyone with failing marks will have to take a makeup test on the weekend. The kids all groan and whinge. Ula leans back in her chair and is like, well, don't fail if you don't want to take makeup tests. Of course, you did fine, right, Tohru? But she looks across the room to see Tohru, whose head is in her hands under a cloud of shame and sadness. And there's just like, woo, it's like, woo sound effect in the background, which is really great. And then we cut to credits. So it's another short opening. Back in from the credits, Uo asks if Tohru failed, and she just nods. She asks how many tests, and Tohru raises her finger, still not saying anything. Uo says no big deal. Hana also comes and comforts her. It's trifle compared to me, who failed at all subjects, Hana says. Apparently this is the first time that Tohru failed a test. Yuki even helped her study. So on cue, of course, he comes over and asks her if she needs to take a makeup test, and she panics and screams and backs away, and then flops to the floor on her hands and knees and apologizes. I'm such a disgrace, she thinks. Yuki-kun was so gracious to take time to tutor me, but I failed. I still failed. For some reason, my head is starting to pound. And Hana and Uo and Yuki come and comfort her, but she's still quite upset. We see tears in her eyes. Later, Tohru and Kyo walk home together, and Kyo gracefully starts the conversation. I heard you have a makeup test. And then we see the same panic animation of Tohru backing away and then, flopping to the ground again. And he's like, what are you doing? I'm gonna leave you. They continue walking home, and Tohru continues to feel extremely depressed, and she thinks, if I'm like this, can I really keep my promise to Mom to graduate from high school? And she starts to feel dizzy, and then flops onto Kyo's back. He blushes and is like, what are you doing? Come on, is it really worth getting depressed about? If you keep worrying about it, you'll get a fever, he says, as she slowly slumps off of his shoulder and then face plants to the ground. And he's like, a fever? Right after I was talking about it? And she's like, yes. At home, Shigure diagnoses Tohru with a cold, and after much debate about her doing her other responsibilities, they convince her to go to bed like a good girl. Okay. In her room, she picks up the hat and wonders, how could I get a fever at a time like this? It just makes me feel even more disgraceful. What? Tohru's sick? Is she okay? Is she sleeping? Momiji asks Shigure on the phone. We cut away. And he's like, you're too loud. And then Shigure calmly explains that Tohru won't be at work and so that she can get some rest. And he's like, oh, I see. Leave it to me. And then hangs up. At the office where Tohru cleans, Momiji explains to some of the other ladies that work there that Tohru is sick. So I'll be covering for her today, he says, cheerfully donning an oversized work shirt. The ladies are like, who is this kid? Oh, well, I don't mind since he's cute, while he continues to say that he'll do his best.
Yeah. He's also like, I'm excited to learn from you, which is cute.
Yeah, it's very charming. It's also like, you don't have to, do her job. Nobody was telling him to do that. I like that this is his solution.
Yeah. He's just like, leave it to me. That is immediately where his mind went.
I'm like, can he even do that? I don't know. It's just really funny.
I guess if your dad owns the building, you can.
Yeah, I'm also like, why did Shigure... I was just thinking, why did they call Momiji in the first place? Is that why? But,
I think it's just because they, tend to meet up there on her work days. Mm-hmm. To, let him know why she's not going to be there, I guess.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe they called her work or whatever, like a normal person, but I just think it's really funny.
Yeah, they probably, actually called in officially sick, and then he was just like, by the way, Momiji, she's not going to be there, so don't freak out.
Yeah, don't freak out. Also, don't go and, don't be creeping around. Anyway, but of course, that's not how he interpreted it.
Yeah.
Back at Shigure's house, Kyo is cooking, and Shigure is like, no way, and the asks if it's for Tohru, and Kyo is like, duh. And then Shigure watches with a satisfied smile. Kyo grabs the shirt and is like, what, you got a problem with it? And Shigure is like, I didn't say anything. But then he also asks what they'll eat for dinner. And Kyo grumpily grabs the pot and says, we're ordering takeout, what else? And then he stomps out, kicking the kitchen door down rather than sliding it open. And Shigure is like, you break it, you buy it.
Like, fully down, and then he just walks over the door.
Yeah, it's just like, dunk, and then walks forward through it. It's pretty good. Kyo takes the food up into the... Oh, Kyo grumps as he walks away and is like, why do I have to do this anyway? While Shigure chuckles. He takes the food into the upstairs hallway and he looks down out to the balcony and he imagines Tohru out there smiling and doing laundry. So we cut inside Toru's room where she is sitting holding the hat still. And he knocks... so she sets the hat down in it to go get the door and it slides off of the bed. He sets the tray down and Toru's like, did you make this for me? It looks amazing. And he's like, whatever, just eat it. And she takes a spoonful and then delicately blows on it and then takes a bite and says it's delicious. And Kyo stands up to leave, I guess satisfied that she tasted it, and she apologizes for all the trouble. He says, don't get sick in the first place if you're sorry. And then she looks surprised and then starts to get upset and looks down, tears in her eyes, and she's like, okay. And then Kyo is like, now you're crying. And then he slumps back down to the floor and she apologizes again. What's the matter? Just say it. I'll listen if you need to vent. She says, and she cries, I want to keep my promise with my mom, but I failed a subject and I feel like a disgrace. I feel bad for wasting Yuki-kun's time and I let myself get a cold. I want to become a more reliable person, she says. And then he's like, you done? Yes, that's it, she says. You could just make up that bad grade by retaking the test, and who cares about that damn Yuki? Just use him until he dies. I hope he just dies, Kyo says, for emphasis. Toru's like, and he continues. When he says that, she's like, it's really good. He continues, and if you feel bad about getting sick, hurry up and get better so you can mill around the house with that silly expression like always. Otherwise, it throws me off, he says, imagining her bringing him onigiri and smiling, a silly smile. So I don't mind cooking if it gets you better enough to do that. That's why you don't have to worry so much, he says. And Tohru thinks, this is... And then he turns to look at her and is like, come on, hurry up and eat or else your fever won't go down. And she's like, right. He blushes and she thinks, this is his way of cheering me up, and smiles, and then eats while Kyo's with her. It's delicious, she says. And he's like, it's not. And then he slumps his head, slumps and rests his head on the table. Yours is way better. And then he looks up over at her without lifting his head. I'm happy, she thinks. And then we see Tohru smiling, surrounded by pink shoujo bubbles, and Kyo blushes. A rival you would creep me out, he says, as we fade out. Later, Hattori arrives and gives Tohru some kind of injection, and Momiji tells him to be careful because Shigure said his injections hurt, and Hattori is like, I did that on purpose. Shigure pops in the room and complains, but Hattori kicks them both out for disturbing the patient. From the hallway, they're like, you're no fun, ha-san, and you're no fun, ha-ri. So sad, which is really great. I was like, what is this song they're singing? It's wonderful.
And like no one reacts in any way to them like singing.
Yeah, I know. It's really weird. It's good. Tohru asks about payment for the treatment, and Tori tells her just get better. Apparently there are many who won't rest easy until you're better, he says. And Kisa, who is at Tohru's bedside, wonders if Uncle Hattori, quote-unquote, is one of those people. That's not possible. Tohru says, and then she thinks Hattori isn't old enough to be called Uncle Hattori. But maybe it's just because of the age difference between him and Kisa that she calls him that. Yuki knocks on the door and asks if he can come in. He checks on her, and he brings her some problems to help her study for the makeup exam, and then offers to do them together when she's feeling better.
Brings her the worst present, a blue book.
That asshole. He's like, yeah, this is to help you feel better. Actually, I think it's very sweet that he was like, I'm going to prepare this. The whole episode we talked about.
And it was actually a blue book.
Yes, it is wonderful. Wanting to get better quickly, not for my own sake, but for someone else's. I'm so lucky I can feel that way, Tohru narrates, and we see Yuki smiling. Then we see Kyo reading a recipe book and Momiji teasing him about it, and Shigure asking Hattori what food he might like Tohru to make to repay him.
Saying the recipe book specifically recipes to get better or something.
Yeah, it's really sweet. I can't remember if Momiji made the same comment, but in the manga he's like, are you training to be a bride? It's really funny. My source of energy, Tohru continues, as we see her with Kisa, is always a gift from those around me. Then we see the hat on the floor, and then we cut to later. It's raining as the kids walk home from school. They discuss the makeup test, and turns out Tohru and Hana both passed, of course. Yuki and Tohru cheerfully talk about the weather. It'd be nice if it cleared up. Yuki asks if Tohru likes summer, which of course she does, because she can work more. And Yuki is like, of course she would say that. She asks him the same, and he says it's not his favorite. The traffic light changes. They rush across the street, And Toru is like, Kyo, can you seem like someone who would like summer? But then she turns back to see that he's like asleep, standing up on the sidewalk. She asks if he's feeling okay, and Yuki says not to worry. Haru says he gets sluggish on rainy days. How pathetic. It's better than how grumpy you are in the morning, Kyo says, panting. Damn this rain. Toru offers to hold his umbrella, and he's like, I can't have a girl carry an umbrella for me. So she comes up with an even better idea, which is to turn him into a cat and carry him. And he's like, that's even worse, which is still made me laugh. Yuki sighs and is like, let's just go. And Kyo sasses her. As they walk away, we see a mysterious man watching them. Toru asks if the tiredness is part of an illness of Kyo's, and he's like, nah, it's just the way my body is. Kyo smiles, and the mystery man is shocked. At Shigure's, who should be visiting but our favorite person, Kagura? Kyo sweats a nervous sweat as she welcomes them home and then slams the door, and Kagura's like, what's wrong? And then punches the door open. Shigure cries at the second property damage in a week. At the table, Kyo and Kagura argue because he doesn't want to see her. She picks up the table in her passion, but before she can do anything to like break it or do any damage to Shigure's house, Shigure like picks up Kyo by the head and flings him at her. Shigure suggested they go on a date, and suggested they go and get groceries for dinner, so Kagura drags him off happily. Shigure is like, my plan to kick them out was a success, and Yuki says that Kagura could chill out a little more, and Toru says that she's like, she is trying. Shigure mentions that he'll take the money for the damage, for the many house repairs from Kyo and Kagura's bank accounts, and that Yuki has one too, and Toru realizes that there are many things that she has yet to learn about the family, still. He also suggests that Yuki and Toru go on a date. So they head out to Yuki's secret base, of course, the usual place. At the grocery store, Kagura asks, hey, Kyo-kun, Toru-kun doesn't know yet, right? Do you plan on hiding it forever? Shut up, he says, it's none of your damn business. And everyone in the grocery store stares and whispers, and Kagura noogies him, like Kyo often noogies Momiji, and sasses him, and then drags him off to another part of the store where there's less people staring. Why are you so obsessed with me? Kyo asks. It's not normal. The normal thing to do would be avoid me or distance yourself. You say that because you don't know, Kagura says, and then she thinks, that day, you don't know what and we see a memory of Kagura's. The scene is like blue tinted, and baby Kagura looks scared. We see Kyo's bracelet falling to the ground. Know what? Kyo asks in the present. You'll cry. So it's a secret, Kagura says, and then ignores his protest for more information and continues to shop for groceries. Outside of the shop, Kagura asks to hold his hand, and he's like, no way, and they argue more, and more people stare, so he reluctantly takes her hand, and he promises to hold it halfway home. She thinks of what he just said, and about people keeping their distance. Don't you realize that you're the one who did that, Kyo? She thinks. And we see a scene of those little kids. Kagura grabs Kyo's hand and runs. Back at Shigure, as Yuki and Toru return from their date to find the mystery man from before at the front door. And Kagura and Kyo return as well, still holding hands, and arguing, of course. Kyo, the mystery man says, and we finally see his face. You look well. Shisho, Kyo says, and then we cut to credits. Dun, dun, dun. But it's like, we know what happens already, because we read this before. This one was also, like, almost exactly the same as the manga. I think it was exactly the same as those two parts of this, or those two chapters, I guess.
Pretty much. The hat had no presence.
Oh, right, sorry, yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, all the hat scenes are added. That is important to say.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. I don't know that it's, like, adding something specific. Just that it's there again. Yeah. Just another reminder that it's there again, I think. I mean, also it's interesting that it adds, like, it's another time where somebody helped Toru, and I feel like, she's grateful for that, and then that's what's happening again in this episode, right? So I think it also kind of, like, it adds to it. It doesn't, like, change anything super significant, but
yeah. As a side note, I don't think I've ever commented on it, but I always thought the hat was red when I was reading the manga.
I think a lot of people did, or they didn't. They definitely didn't think that it was blue.
Yeah, I don't know if it's ever actually, like, in color at any point, but
I don't remember. I do remember there being a debate about that, though.
Yeah. Was it red in the first anime, maybe?
Is the hat even in the first
anime?
Remember.
I feel like she might have talked about it during that episode was in the anime where she has her friends over, but I can't remember if they talked about it or not. Just trying to remember why I might think it was red.
I can't remember if the hat is just completely omitted or not, frankly.
Yeah, I think it might be. I just couldn't really remember.
I think that it...
I do see several like fan edits where it's colored red though, so apparently that's a thing.
Yeah, I remember there being a debate, a hearty debate about whether it was red or not, or what color it was.
It's like obviously it's dark gray.
Yes. Speaking of the anime, so all the hat scenes are added. The other thing that I saw people commenting on, speaking of red versus blue hats or whatever, was that people were like, "Oh, Kyo didn't take the chives from Yuki like he did in the original before," and I was like, "Well, that wasn't in the manga. That was only in the anime." So, which is kind of funny. There's like basically in the first anime, if you haven't seen it, Yuki when Kyo's preparing the like food for Tohru, he goes and steals chives from Yuki's garden, and then he like cooks them wearing a like a gas mask. So it adds like all of this like it's like additionally even harder for him to make the food or whatever for Tohru. So it's really funny, but yeah, it wasn't in the manga either. So
yeah,
I think this was the main notes that I have. This is cute. Tohru's I feel like Tohru's emotions are really on point. It's the first time we see them. You know, Kyo obviously like interacting with her, kind of like one-on-one, and she tells him about her worries and stuff. And then we met Shisho, of course. The mysterious man turned out to be a man named Shisho, I guess.
Yeah, but Kyo's talked about Shisho before, so we know who he is.
Yes, it's his master. So Kyo mentioned him on the roof before when Tohru was kind of like getting to know him. Actually, it was when Kagura was there before, wasn't it?
I think
so. Yeah, because Kagura was there and he wanted to be up on the roof to avoid her.
Yeah.
And so Tohru was up there chatting with him, and he's like, and Shisho was great, training with him is great, everything about Shisho is great. And now he's here being mysterious and like creeping. Poor Shigure with all the property damage to his house again.
Yeah. That was kind of funny by like combining the two episodes. It's like the door gets kicked down and then Kagura punches through the other door and then she like lifts up the table and he's like, no,
not 3 times. We can't have it happen 3 times. I love that like animation where he picks up Kyo and just like flings him at Kagura. It's so good. It's one of my favorites. And of course they're like, I feel like they really amped up the everybody staring and gossiping when they were arguing at the grocery store. I feel like when you combine these two, I think in the original anime, the Tohru being sick was just the one episode, right? Yeah, Tohru being sick was the one episode, and then Kagura showing up is in like the next one or whatever. So by combining them together, I feel like it's another fast-paced episode of the anime. I feel like they again, like every kind of like major thing was included, but sometimes it was like, now Yuki's talking, now Momiji's there, now this thing, now Kisa's there. Like sometimes the pace of this I find to be kind of fast, but it's nice that everything is there. Trying to remember if there's any other good like music or anything. We didn't have any new music. We just had the funny like recorder music when they were talking about Tohru's like marks, and then it was very quiet. Like I don't think there was any background music in the scene where Tohru was talking about her feels to Kyo. So it's kind of a quiet one. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have any other things to say that are not spoilery.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's another short. Well, I feel like every time we get a episode of the anime that's very similar to the manga, we're just like, meh, and then you know, I don't know, they're good. Well, next time, great, good, excellent. Next time we'll be talking about the next episode is called Let's Go Home. So we'll see what happens then. And you can stick around for some probably light spoilery discussion after the music. Yeah, you can find us at all the places. You can send us messages. We got Tumblr, we got Twitter, we got, email, etc. You can leave reviews. You can send comments. And I don't know. Thank you all for listening. Thanks for all your nice comments and stuff. I answered a bunch of Asks today. It was pretty great. So yeah, I don't know. I don't have anything else to say. We'll see you next time. Bye. Okay, we're back to talk about spoilers. I do think it's interesting that when you combine these two these two chapters together instead of like separate like we did, because you really get to compare and contrast like Kyo and Kagura's relationship versus Kyo and Tohru's relationship.
Yeah, I do. I think it works nice as a lead into the true form stuff. Like it
Hmm.
was always the chapter before it, but since the it ends on one volume and starts on the next one, they're more separate.
Yeah.
Like they even added like I guess that's a change too. They had a little bit where when Kyo's feeling gross in the rain, Tori's like, "Oh no, did I give you my cold?"
Hmm.
Which is
Oh yeah,
cute.
they
Yeah,
did. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's very sweet.
yeah,
I'll turn you into a cat if it's not, if it's not too forward of me.
yeah,
He's like, what?
yeah. But yeah, I think it
Um,
helps emphasize like because we have Cosmo being like, "Oh, he's like you know you're making friends here and stuff." Like
mm-hmm.
so, seeing like all the like nice domestic stuff and having the Toru and Kyo starting to bond more
Yeah.
strongly right before everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
The other thing is like he gives. There is a scene where he like smiles, but I also feel like it was really emphasized by the animation where
Hmm.
like he smiles when he's looking at Toru and she shows like,
Yeah.
like really.
It's like a huge reaction from
Yeah.
Cosmo, which is funny. It's like
Yeah,
jaw
it was
drop.
funny. Because I think in the manga he's just like stern faced, like we see his face like looking at them, but
Yeah, I think we have like a like slightly parted lips kind of like, kind of
hmm. Hmm.
surprise, but not like a like straight up jaw drop like
Yeah.
he did
She's
this
just not
one.
very dramatic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was gonna say he has strong emotions, but he doesn't express them very strongly.
He plays him close to the vest.
Yeah.
Um
And we made a comment when we read the chapters that like seemed like there's a little like emphasis on Kagura's bracelet in that scene when they were holding hands,
mm-hmm.
and they like made that just a straight up parallel in this one where they had
Mm-hmm.
it fade into the childhood
Bracelet.
bracelet. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It was good.
Hmm.
It was good. Yeah. They also kind of made that a parallel between the two of them. So
Yeah. And they also we talked about it in like the first episodes where they like kind of emphasized the bracelet early on. They
mm-hmm.
emphasize it a little more in Kagura's flashback too.
Yeah, I noticed that because I think it's just her in the manga. I went back and checked out this chapter, and she's just kind of like looks scared as a little
Yeah.
kid.
Mm-hmm.
So they had that, but then they added the bracelet too.
Yeah, it's just like one panel of her scared face, but then we have like the bracelet falling to the floor and then her scared face. So
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, ooh.
yeah, foreshadowing for the next episode.
Mm-hmm. The interesting thing is, I thought that so the next episode is called "Let's Go Home," so that's like the end of the true form, right?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So maybe they are going to do the thing I thought they might do, where they have the last episode be kind of like wrap up and emotional fallout and hinting at the next season.
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder like what things you could pull in because like it's such a dramatic end to have that be the last episode. So to come down from that, it's like, well, what are you going to do to like top that as a season finale? Like, I don't know. I find that really interesting. Like, I wonder what it's going to be. It could just be straightforward, like you said. Like, it could just be, just like straight up, like the next thing that happens. But
Yeah, like maybe
I
it'll
feel like
just
that's kind of a,
yeah, like maybe it'll wrap up with the like Cosmo and Kyo stuff or something.
like it's a whole other story. Like all of the things that happened with the whole stuff between him and Kazuma, between Kyo and Kazuma is it could be a whole episode in and of itself, right? So like his kind of backstory.
Yeah, but it does follow directly after the true form arc, so
Yeah.
it kind of concludes it. Like I think we included it
I
in
think so.
our
Yeah, we did by by chapter count kind of, but like it's all part of the same it's another aspect of the same story. So like Hyo, he wasn't accepted by the family, and then he also like feels like that reflects poorly on Kazuma, so that kind of continues into that story between him and Kazuma about their relationship, right?
yeah.
So,
Also, just like on a straight like bookends kind of thing. Like the true form arc starts when Cosmo arrives and ends when he leaves. So
yes. Yeah, that's true. So I mean, I don't know, so they could have that.
yeah,
Maybe they'll like sprinkle in some more Yuki's feelings in there or something to like make it what is it called? Not a cliffhanger, but like kind of tease some more things for next season as well. Yeah.
yeah. I also feel like generally just like anime adaptations of manga series don't have as much like there has to be a dramatic finale kind of thing like I don't know, like Western TV shows do. Like
Yeah, that's true.
I know when I watch like a series like all at once on like DVD or whatever, it's like the opening credits change and I'm like, oh, I guess it's the next season. Like it didn't really like
Yeah.
really like notice like, oh, that was a big dramatic season ending thing.
Plus, I think like the second season has been confirmed officially, so it's like you know, I don't know. They don't have to have something to wrap everything up, just like the first anime did, where they have to add in all the scenes of like her going back to the main house and Akito yelling at her and stuff like that, and all those things that were sort of added.
Yeah.
You don't have to have that. You can just do whatever you want. So, I mean, I guess you could have whatever, like, not anticlimactic, but like not as strong of a climax ending, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. So we'll see. But I was expecting to get something in between and then have this be the end. But looks like we're gonna get something else. So that's cool.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I think it'll still be true form adjacent. Whatever the final
it's not gonna be
episode is. Yeah.
It's like a Makoto or something.
Yeah.
It's like some random chapter.
It's a full episode of the Mogeta anime.
Nice. I'd watch that.
I was gonna say I'm not gonna pretend I wouldn't love that.
Deep Mogeta lore.
Yeah.
It'll be like the haunted house chapter from that we read recently.
Yeah. No, it'll just be them telling scary stories about cockroaches.
Yeah, exactly.
The food Kyo made looked really good.
Oh yeah.
Not a spoiler,
I googled
but
it.
Really good.
I was like writing this and I was like, the okayu that he brings in, and then I was like, I should Google that just to check. And it's or no, I looked what it was. I looked at what it was in the. No, it was actually related to the chapter that we read, because she's like, oh, the like, what she says. There was also a whole discussion going on recently about soup, and anyway, in the fandom, and there's like, so in the chapter that we just read, Toru was like, oh, the medley soup he made for me was. Really good or whatever, but I was like, what? I thought he made her like rice porridge or whatever. So then I went back and looked at what she said, and she says that he made ojiya. That's what it was. So then I was like, what is the difference between that and okayu? Apparently okayu is just like plain and can be made out of grains, only grains, and then ojiya is like when stuff is mixed into it. So I learned something new today. I'll post it in the show notes. No, I'm just kidding. You can just Google it. Whatever. It's not that interesting. I learned, so it made me happy.
Yeah.
But yeah, what he made for her in the anime, it looked delicious.
Yeah.
I was like, I want some of that. Rice goo.
Yeah. I love the texture of like rice-based foods. I love rice-based foods. It's just that texture of like rice with goo.
Rice with goo.
Yeah. That's why I like curry.
That's true. That's why I like mochi.
Like curry and fried rice
and rice, just plain rice. Like plain rice, lemon rice, fried rice. That's about it.
Coconut rice.
Yeah, exactly.
Rice.
On that note, I think that's probably everything that we have to say. I'm guessing. This is going to be one of the shortest episodes, even shorter than the Hana episode.
It's mostly like fluff and lead up to stuff that's happening next time, but not enough to really talk about. Like...
Yeah, because it was just like everybody's showing up to like get ready for the thing, and a sick day, as we discussed before. So, yeah. Anyway, okay. Well, in that case, thank you all for listening. We will see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye. It's like we'll see you next time, unless you are tired of listening to us not talk about stuff.
I'm sure we'll have stuff to talk about next time.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be interesting, hopefully.